For over 4 centuries, a marble bust of Christ stood in silence in a Roman chapel, admired, forgotten, and eventually dismissed as anonymous. Until now. In a side chapel of the Basilica di Sant'Agnès fuori le mura in Rome rests a white marble bust of Christ the Savior. Serene, luminous, and remarkably discreet, it has remained on the same altar since 1590, quietly observing generations of worshippers, most unaware of the story it carries. That story has not remained fixed. It has shifted, faded, and resurfaced across centuries. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the bust drew attention from prominent figures of European culture. The British painter J.M.W. Turner sketched it during his visit in 1819. The German sculptor Emil Wolf produced a copy, still preserved in Berlin. Even the French writer Stendhal expressed his belief that the work could be attributed to Michelangelo. Then, gradually, the certainty dissolved. By the 19th century, the attribution had weakened. The sculpture came to be seen as the work of an anonymous artist from the Roman school of the 16th century. In 1984, a scholar formally rejected the connection to Michelangelo. The Italian Ministry of Culture catalogued it simply as unknown. And so it remained, not lost, but overlooked, a work suspended on the margins of art history. Until March 2026. An independent researcher, Valentina Salerno, announced that this modest bust may, in fact, be a late work by Michelangelo. Her claim did not emerge from traditional stylistic analysis alone, but from something more difficult to dismiss: documents. Over more than a decade, she examined archival materials across Italy and the Vatican, notarial records, posthumous inventories, and indirect references to Michelangelo's final days in Rome in 1564, reopening the possibility of his hand in the work. And yet, the object itself remained untouched. The marble had not shifted, the expression had not altered, the form had not softened or hardened with time. If the bust truly belongs to him, or if it does not, the question itself reveals something more significant than the answer. It reveals how easily certainty settles where inquiry once existed. For a time, this sculpture was admired, then it was doubted, and eventually it was dismissed. And now it returns, not as a confirmed masterpiece, but as a possibility. Not because it has changed, but because its place within our system of meaning has shifted. We tend to imagine art history as a structure built on solid ground, a sequence of attributions, corrections, and final conclusions. But in reality, it behaves more like memory, unstable, revisable, dependent on what is preserved and on what is overlooked. In 1984, the bust was unknown. Today, it is uncertain again. And uncertainty in this case is not a failure, is a reopening. Perhaps this is what art ultimately resists: the desire to be fixed in a single, permanent interpretation. Every work exists not only in marble or canvas, but in the shifting frameworks through which it is perceived. What we call understanding is often nothing more than a temporary agreement between the object and its time. Michelangelo might have understood this better than most. In the final stretch of his life, he withdrew as much as he revealed. He allowed certain works to remain outside the circuits of recognition, not necessarily lost, but displaced, present yet unclaimed. And there is a strange kind of permanence in that, to exist without being fully seen, to endure without being fully named. Centuries later, something stirs, not in the sculpture itself, but in the way we return to it. And perhaps the most honest answer is not to resolve the question, but to remain within it. To accept that what we see is never final, that meaning does not belong entirely to the object, nor entirely to us, but to the fragile space between them. Because sometimes what defines a work of art is not what it reveals at first glance, but what it withholds, patiently, until someone chooses to see it differently.